Yeah, exactly. And then when I was working on Wall Street, I worked on Wall Street in one capacity or another during the boom of the '80s, during the dot-com of the '90s, and you had in the '90s the dot-com stocks that would go public at 16 and trade to 300, and then they returned back to 16 again. But so gold could be, if they decide that gold's been in a bear market up until just the past few years. During the entire bull market on Wall Street that started in 1982, gold just went down every single year because nobody wanted it, and it was being trashed by all the central banks who were selling gold to buy T-bills to use as collateral to create collateralized debt obligations and credit default swaps and this huge Ponzi scheme that became the U.S. and global market that hit the skids in summer of 2007 when Chuck Prince, CEO of Citigroup, said, as long as the music's playing, we're going to keep dancing. And then that week, the BNP came out with a report saying our hedge funds have a lot of junk bonds in there, and we don't think the value is 100 cents on the dollar. We think it's 0 cents on the dollar. And that was the beginning of what we now know as the financial crisis that we're all suffering from today. Now, there was an attempt back in the latter part of last year to inject 12 or $13 trillion worth of new loans into the economy, and you're seeing the stock market bounce. And you're seeing some quote-unquote green shoots. But now that all these stimulus packages have ended, the clunkers, cash for clunkers, et cetera, now we're going back to reality. When the reality is that all that Obama and these guys did was just layer another few $1 trillion worth of debt on top of the debt layer cake, and the whole thing is just, it didn't stop it from collapsing, and we're right back to where we were last year and the year before. By the end, within 6 months, there's going to be banks going to Congress saying, if you don't give us another $5 trillion, we're going to do a suicide mission. We're going to blow ourselves up, which is what Paulson did, if you remember. He said, give us $700 billion. We're going to blow up this entire economy. He was like one of these suicide bombers in front of Congress, and he strapped on like $5 trillion worth of derivative contracts that he was going to explode in everyone's face. And now, that's going to come again. So, the point being that the rest of the world is saying, hold on, we've seen this movie before. We don't want to play this game anymore. We've got the oil. You don't have the oil. Plus, a lot of these countries are dealing with the fact, I don't know if you follow this or not, Alex, but, I think it may go against some of your orthodoxy, but the fact is, in countries like Mexico, which is one of the 3 biggest oil fields in the world, Cantarell, their production is nosediving. It's down sharply. And these big fields around the world, I know we may have a slight conflict in our thoughts on this, but these big oil fields around the world, their production numbers are diminishing.
Well, you're certainly right. You're certainly right. There's 6.5 going on 7 billion people, and you're going to have fights over fewer and fewer resources. There is a lot of oil and stuff, but it's still a big job to find it and get it out. And you're absolutely right. There's pressure everywhere. Max, I'm going to come back and play the new trailer because I know you've got to go. But before we end, you were telling me you've got a new project. First time I heard of this at your PirateMyFilm.com website. Oh, yeah. Well, Pirate My Film, my website is anybody can list a movie and try to raise money for their movie. And I've got a few movies listed. I've got a movie called Where's Kenny Boy? I'm going to try to go down to Paraguay and find Ken Lay, because I think he's still alive and living down in Paraguay. I also have a movie called Baltimore Jihad. It's about who made the most money with options on 9/11. And I got a story going down to Baltimore, Maryland, and talking to the bankers who made all the money on 9/11 trading options. So that's a project called Baltimore Jihad. Then I've got a new project called Alex in Wonderland. And it's a fantasy project. It's about the mainstream media in America suddenly adopts Alex Jones as their mainstream media outlet. And what would happen if suddenly, mainstream media started to take on what you've been saying now for 14 years and adopting it as the main message? It's like, what gave me the big idea was the Hardin, Montana story, because to me that is the first major story to leap from Alex Jones to mainstream, and not the first, but I'm saying it's a huge story that went from Alex Jones InfoWars to mainstream media in a huge way. And so this is a little project I'm putting together, and it's about how mainstream media goes Alex Jones. Well, I'm honored, and I think that'll make a good film, but I think the Where's Kenny Boy will be even more interesting because no doubt they staged that death. Max, that is exciting. As that develops, we will have you back on maxkeiser.com. Say hi to your lovely betrothed, and I will talk.
Here, she wants to say hello. It's just say hello. Say hello.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Very well. How are you?
Good, good. We should have. For those that don't know, tell folks who you are as we go to break here.
I'm Stacy Herbert, partner with Max Keiser.
And you guys work on the TV shows and radio shows together. And I always enjoy hearing you when you do all the great work you're doing, Stacy.
Thank you.
Well, I'm excited to hear about this Alex in Wonderland. I already feel like I'm in Wonderland every day. The world's so weird.
Yes, and I'm excited to go to Paraguay for the Kenny Boy story.
I am very excited. Maybe I'll go to Paraguay with you.
Oh, good. You could be our bodyguard.
Sure. Yeah, I'm real tough. All right, Stacy, keep it up over there. Take care of Max for me. I know he's a handful.
Yeah, all right, buddy. When are you coming to Europe?
Someday.
Air and Aqua.